Okay, this is the Packers' first play of the game. First of all, good decision for the Packers to take the ball here, take the kickoff instead of deferring and kicking off for once. Makes sense that the Packers would want to put their offense on the field first, kind of control the clock, control the pace of the game. Obviously, things went in the reverse direction last week with the Bears, where the Bears started out with the ball and very much controlled the clock and the pace of the game in the first half. And the Packers certainly wanted to avoid that from happening again this week. So they started with the ball, ended up being a very good choice for them. Here's the first play. See, the Packers are in their normal three wide receiver set, but this time they have Richard Rodgers split out wide. One thing with the Seattle Seahawks, this is the fourth film review that I've done in a game in which the Packers played the Seattle Seahawks. There's a couple basic things that Seattle does that helps them be successful. One of the things they do is they almost always keep more guys in the box on defense than you have to block with. So here you can see the Packers just have their basic five-man offensive line to block with. So Seattle answers with 6 guys in the box. I've just jumped ahead real quick here to the second play of the game. This is the Packers in their money set. This is their go-to set with Eddie Lacy in the shotgun. This time Richard Rodgers is taking his position along the end of the offensive line. So that gives the Packers 6 guys to block with. So once again, you can see Seattle answers by bringing their safety up towards the box, which now gives them 7 guys to go against the run against the 6 blockers. This is a trend that you would see throughout the game. Okay, I've moved ahead to the Packers touchdown on this first drive, the opening drive. The Packers are kind of in a different set here. They have their 3 receivers on the field. They have Richard Rodgers here in the near slot, and then they have James Starks actually went out up to the top slot here. On this play, of course, Aaron Rodgers got Michael Bennett to jump off sides. He is going to roll out of the pocket to his left and then find James Jones across the middle for a touchdown. On this play, really we see some lackadaisical defense by Richard Sherman. Sherman either thought he was going to have inside help on the play, or he just underestimated how quickly Aaron Rodgers can spot receivers and stop and throw the ball even when he's on the move. That's something that I've talked about with Aaron Rodgers before. He might be the quickest quarterback that I've ever seen at throwing the ball off the run. His ability to go from scrambling with the ball to stopping and throwing the ball is as quick as anybody that I've ever seen. And it might have caught the Seattle defense, including Sherman, by surprise, and they just weren't able to get to Jones in time before the ball got there. Bottom line, absolutely a great play by Aaron Rodgers, MVP type play. Touchdown, 7-0 Green Bay. This is Seattle's first play from scrimmage. First of all, it doesn't help that they had the infamous penalty on the opening kickoff, and therefore they have to start at their own 10-yard line. That's never a good place to start from. Here they almost try to seem to steal a page from the Bears book. They're going to concentrate on blocking pretty much everybody on this play except for Sam Shields. They throw the quick screen out here to Lockett, the receiver. Again, they block pretty much everybody. They let Sam Shields alone, and Sam Shields is actually going to react quickly on this play, and he's going to successfully make the tackle for no gain. Does get a little helping hand by a good reaction from Mike Neal on the play as well. They see an unblocked Sam Shields get up quickly. Also good reaction from Mike Neal to combine on the stop for no gain. Okay, I've jumped ahead to what is essentially the final play of the first half. The Packers are leading 10-3 at this point. We saw their touchdown to go up 7-0. They then traded field goals with Seattle. Really, the first half was kind of a lot of dinking dunking. The fumble by Starks stopped one of the Packers' drives, and some penalties helped stop Seattle. So really not a whole lot happened this first half. Here on this play, this is the Packers' last chance to score. They're going to need to kick a field goal if they don't score on this play. Seattle knows that as well. Therefore, there is no downside to Seattle being called for pass interference or defensive holding or the like on this play. It does not hurt them if they are called for something, because one way or the other, if the Packers do not score, they're going to have to try to kick a field goal. So Seattle knows this. It's likely Aaron Rodgers knows this. Therefore, it's understandable. He is going to go to one of his bigger, more physical receivers here, figuring that considering there's probably going to be physical contact, you figure that one of your bigger guys is going to have a better chance to win the battle and to score. So he's going to try for Richard Rodgers here in the near slot. This does make complete sense, like I said. Richard Rodgers kind of shows a little bit of his inexperience here. He needs to run this route where he actually engages Wagner, pushes Wagner to the inside, and then takes inside position, uses his body to box Wagner out on his play. He doesn't. Instead, he just tries to run a quick slant underneath Wagner. Wagner hooks him, uses the hook to spin in front, knock the ball down, and it's his incomplete pass, and the Packers are forced to kick a field goal. That does end up giving them a 13-3 lead going into half, however. So you can see there, Richard Rodgers just went for the quick release off the line, tried to use his speed to get inside rather than being physical. The problem with that is then Wagner just reaches out with his right hand, hooks Richard Rodgers around the waist. Anytime you hook somebody who's moving, that then gives you momentum to help you spin your body out in front of the guy, and that's what Bobby Wagner does here and is able to knock this ball down. Okay, this is the Seattle's first big third down that they converted during their first drive of the second half. This is a drive that's going to end up going for a touchdown, so this is the Packers' best chance here to get off the field and get a stop is this 3rd and 11. The Packers are in a dime defense with Clay Matthews being the only middle or inside linebacker on the field. The Packers appear to be in a strict man-to-man coverage. However, Casey Hayward is taking more of an inside-out coverage on Lockett, with Clinton Dix having the inside, Hayward taking the outside. Either that or Hayward is just simply giving Lockett way too much room on this play. And so this ends up being a pretty easy conversion for Russell Wilson, who faces absolutely no pressure on this play. Not only do the Packers Packer defensive line doesn't get anywhere near Wilson, but they vacate the middle of the field. Wilson is a really good quarterback, and unfortunately, it looks like he's just getting better. However, one of his weaknesses is he's a short guy. And so one of the last things you want to do is give him a clean lane right up the middle to throw through. You'd rather make him see and throw over somebody. But the Packers commit the cardinal sin here, give him a clean lane for him to step up and deliver the pass. And this is a pretty easy conversion on 3rd and 11 for Seattle. Way too easy. At least that's a big hit from Clinton Dix. I don't remember there being a single big hit delivered by our defense against the Bears, so at least we did see a couple of those in this game. Okay, 3rd and goal. This is about the only other third down that Seattle would face in this drive. It's a big play. The Packers respond similar to what they did against the Bears last week. They actually are going to be sitting in a zone here. They have their dime defense on the field, with Clay Matthews being the only inside linebacker. They are all going to be sitting in zone. Fortunately, Seattle may have been anticipating the zone, and they have a great play against it. They're basically going to flood the zone by running one guy through the middle, and then Fred Jackson is going to do a wheel route out of the backfield and run it through that same zone. It basically takes advantage of a little too much aggressiveness by Clinton Dix that kind of creates an open lane for Fred Jackson as we roll this ahead a little bit. So you could see Jermaine Kearse here first out of the slot came across the middle. That was momentarily open. And so jumped the route. You would have been better off trusting Clay Matthews to cut off this end and taking more of a straight backside approach to Kearse. If he would have, he could have shut this lane down. Unfortunately, he tried to jump in front of Kearse, possibly to pick it off if Wilson would have threw it there. Instead, Wilson goes to Jackson instead, and the lane is pretty wide open with an accurately thrown pass. Touchdown. Okay, I've jumped ahead to the scoring play that put the Seattle Seahawks ahead. After the Seattle got the ball for their second drive of the second half, they started in great field position at their own 46. They scored in 5 quick plays, very easily moving down the field and scoring rather easily to take a 17-13 lead. On this play, you can see the Packers are in their nickel defense, which is very normal. Seattle is actually in their probably favorite offensive set, except instead of having Lynch on the field, they have their backup running back on the field here. Actually, just the fullback, I believe, on the field here. Basically, with this play, what you're going to see is that something that we saw through a lot of the game is that Micah Hyde is a very good tackler, and he made some good tackles in this game. However, his coverage skills are not as good, and he really struggled to cover in this game. Doug Baldwin pretty much had his way with Hyde when he was lined up against him. Baldwin ended up with a pretty good game. Here he takes Hyde on physically, pushes him off, and gets open. It's a good pass by Wilson to get it into him for the touchdown. Not terrible coverage on this play by Hyde, but again, Hyde was victimized many times in this game, struggled in coverage, and considering all of the young players that the Packers have who can cover possibly behind Hyde, Hyde has got to play better in coverage than he did in this game, or one of those guys should be seeing the field. And actually not a horrible pass rush on that play with Julius Peppers actually at least forcing Wilson to step up in the pocket, but Wilson delivered a nice pass, touchdown, and now Seattle has the lead at 17-13. Okay, underrated play here for the Packers. Absolutely huge play for them in this game that's probably has not gotten enough coverage. This is Stark's very big run, 35-yard run that got the Packers out of trouble. Seattle had just scored twice to take the lead. The last thing the Packers want to do is to have another ineffective offensive series. They really need to move the ball here. And they're sitting at 2nd and 4 when Starks is going to break off this run and get in Seattle territory. This is basically the anatomy of a successful run. You're going to see great blocking by every blocker for the Packers on this play, and then you're also going to see a great run by James Starks. If I just go ahead and roll this a little bit forward, you can see once again the Packers running out of the bunch formation. They got a bunch here to the right, Richard Rodgers here, and then just Randall Cobb split out wide left. Kind of a strange formation, but the Packers managed to turn into a couple successful runs against Seattle. So here we can see Corliss coming across the formation to take out the end. That's going to be a key block on this play. And then we're going to see David Bakhtiari come off this double team and get the safety. And that a very large hole is going to open up right up the middle for Starks. You know, everybody's doing their job here. Everybody is blocking their man. TJ Lang, with the help of Lindsey's got Michael Bennett on the ground, which is always a great thing. So everybody's doing their job, and that's what it takes to have a big run. However, at the same time, you need to have a running back who's decisive, who sees the hole and gets through it. This is a great run by Starks. He not only plants his foot, takes one cut, and bolts straight through the hole, but then once he gets there, when he gets to the safety, he makes another cut that beats the safety, and that allows him to turn what would have been just a good 10, 12-yard run into a 35-yard run. Let me back this up a moment. And then here you can see the combination of the great blocking and the great run by Starks. Cut, go, another cut, and he's off for 35 yards. Huge play to get the Packers offense rolling again after Seattle had taken the... Okay, and this is where you can see here that the changes that the Packers made on this drive that really kind of got their offense going, provided a spark for their offense and got them going. Once again, this is similar to what you saw against the Patriots last year, when the Patriots were playing some pretty good defense against the Packers. We've put Cobb in the backfield, and then this just seemed to kind of throw the defense off. Here, Cobb is going to line up in the backfield. He's going to end up just doing a swing route out here. the Seahawks are actually relying on the safety on this side, which is they're all pro Earl Thomas, to come up and handle Cobb. But unfortunately, he gives Cobb a little too much space, and then for once he actually misses the tackle, and Cobb goes up the sideline for a nice 18-yard gain for the Packers. Also, a good job of Ty Montgomery of blocking on the play to help Cobb get a little extra yards. Okay, as a Packer fan, you've seen this play a bunch. We're just going to throw a receiver screen here. This is going to Ty Montgomery. Based off his performance in this game, we probably can see this. We'll see this play run a lot more. The top two receivers here, Adams and Jones, are just going to be looking to block for Montgomery. You're going to see another lame attempt to tackle by Richard Sherman. Montgomery is going to shake that and a hit of Bobby Wagner off and go up the sideline for a nice 17-yard gain. Great play. Okay, this is the play that's going to give the Packers the lead for good. This is another great play by Aaron Rodgers. We're in the same set that we've been in throughout this entire drive, which really worked well for us. Seattle had a hard time dealing with this. We have Cobb in the backfield in the shotgun. Rodgers is just going to escape the pocket to his left, and a great move by Richard Rodgers to get in front of the defender and get his body between the defender and the ball, and box the defender out, and ends up being a pretty easy touchdown pass for Aaron Rodgers. Again, that is Rodgers' mobility giving Seattle all sorts of trouble, and a great play by Rodgers. You actually see it here on the replay. Here on this replay, you can see right here, Richard Rodgers swims his way in front of the defender and gives Rodgers a great target to throw the ball to. Touchdown. Okay, this is the two-point conversion. This is essentially a replay of the play that the Packers ran right before halftime, except this time Richard Rodgers is going to get himself to the inside of Bobby Wagner and have Bobby Wagner on his back, which is going to allow him to use his body so that Aaron Rodgers can just flip a pass out in front of him, and Richard Rodgers can reach out with his hands and catch the ball where Bobby Wagner can't get to it, and that we have a successful conversion here. This is a great thing to see for a couple reasons. One, it's huge for the Packers that Richard Rodgers could end up being a great red zone threat for them, be able to use his size and his hands to his advantage. The Packers are a really good offense between the 20s. I think we all know that. However, in the red zone, it's kind of been some of their failings. So if Richard Rodgers could just turn out to be a really good red zone threat for the Packers, that it would be a big plus for this offense. And here we can see him kind of taking the next step and getting away from All-Pro Bobby Wagner and making the catch here for the two-point conversion, which is a play that has plagued the Packers. Very nice play by Rodgers, by both Rodgers, Aaron and Richard. Seattle has the ball, needs to answer. With this play, you're going to see the Seattle is going to run the read option once again, which really tormented the Packers in the second half, mostly with Russell Wilson just keeping the ball. The Packers put their defensive ends, or their outside linebackers in this case, in a difficult position, asking them to both maintain the outside edge and be in on the play if Wilson happens to hand the ball off. On this play, the Packers are in their nickel defense, which is the primary defense that's vulnerable to the read option. But yet, Mike Neal is actually going to successfully make the play this time. He's going to follow along the edge, maintain the edge at the same time. When Wilson fakes the handoff and takes off, Neal's going to quickly shut down the outside, force Wilson to try to cut back inside, and Neal is going to tackle him. This is a very athletic play by Mike Neal, showing his quickness. It's kind of bizarre that a guy who was actually drafted to be a defensive lineman might be the quickest and best athlete among the Packers' outside linebackers. Boy, if we would have seen that done more on the read option, this would have been a different game. Interception by Jaron Elliott. that ends this drive for Seattle and really puts the Packers in charge. It's could be called the turning point of the game. It's actually a huge play in the game. This is what's going to be looking like what could be a fairly successful screenplay to Marshawn Lynch. Elliott does not really get a pass rush, so he's just watching Wilson. And when Wilson lets it go, Elliott is able to intercept the ball with one hand. That he then fumbles the ball at the end of the play, but clearly appears to get the ball back and to shuffle it back into his body. The actions of Seattle on this play, their offensive linemen immediately digging at Elliott and driving their helmet into him and shuffling with their feet, pushing with their legs to try to get Elliott to leverage him off the ground so that they can get at the ball, really is something that really annoys me. I think it's real Bush League by Seattle. It's obviously something that Pete Carroll teaches. I just think that shows the kind of coach that he is. He's a Bush League coach. The fact that he had the gall to complain about the ref's decision on this play, it just shows kind of the whiny bitch that he is. And frankly, this play pisses me off, but great play by Elliott. It is 3rd and 6, only 4:16 left to go in the game. If the Packers can convert the first down here, they're going to be able to run the clock down to 2 minutes. At that point, they can kick, whether they kick a field goal or score a touchdown. Seattle's going to be in big, big trouble. Pretty much game's going to practically be over, short of a miracle. So this is a big, big, big play for the Packers. On this play, this is the sort of thing I like to see out of Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't look to escape the pocket. He's patient on this play. He waits until Ty Montgomery is able to get all the way across the field from his slot position, and Montgomery makes the play, makes the catch for the first down. Big play for the Packers. You give Rodgers that kind of protection and that kind of time on a 3rd and 6, it's pretty much game over. Game. This is going to be the end of the line for the Seattle Seahawks. Let me first say that for this whole final rush here by Seattle, the Packers basically, their defense needed to do one thing, and that was to keep Seattle in the field of play. Don't let them both pick up good yardage and get out of bounds to stop the clock. Seattle has no timeouts left, so they have to just keep going down the field. Sure, they can get themselves in field goal range and then kick a field goal, but even that will take some time as long as the Packers don't let them get out of bounds. The Packers did a great job of that on this drive. The Packers tackled Seattle in bounds, even though Seattle got some good chunks of yards. The Packers were able to get them down in bounds and after every single play, and the clock just kept running the entire time. This is a great play by Jerome Elliott to come back on this play, knock the ball loose so it's a fumble, wins the game, so we don't have to bother with the BS of the field goal attempt, maybe an onside kick at the end of the game. But the fact of the matter is that even if Fred Jackson does not fumble on this play. If you look at where the clock is probably going to run down to around 20 seconds by time Jackson is fully tackled and down. Seattle at that point would have to run their field goal unit onto the field, kick a field goal. I'm guessing that's going to take at least 10 to 15 seconds. So the bottom line is that Seattle is out of time. They're not going to have time to win this game, regardless of whether Jackson fumbles or not. But it's still, I'm glad, and I'm sure you as a Packer fan are glad that we did not have to see the stupid field goal or to see a stupid onside kick, even if the onside kick wouldn't have meant anything because the game would have ran out. But just glad we didn't have to see any of that. Glad we got to end it our way with the fumble, the turnover, Hyde's recovery of the ball, and game over. Big 2-0 for the Packers, while Seattle starts 0-2. Lot of season left to go, but that's still certainly a huge win for the Packers.